Drivers, start your engines. You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Darryl Jr. and I'm welcoming you to another episode of The Extra Mile for today, April the 1st, 2021. You're taking another lap with us. No fooling on this April Fool's. Michael Ward is with me. Christopher Lehman probably will not be with us this evening. He's on baby duty, and his adorable son Henry is on that moment where babies don't exactly sleep, and it's taking a toll, so we're giving Christopher the night off. He may jump on later if the baby wakes him up, but we are hoping that Henry stays asleep so that dear old dad can also get some much-needed sleep. But of course, joining me, my co-host Michael Ward. Michael, welcome.
What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? I just had the greatest sim racing experience I can ever have. You know, your boy is now the proud owner of a racing wheel now. I just got a Logitech G923, and I've been having fun with it. I got iRacing and Assetto Corsa, and, you know, it's something, you know, immersive about driving down the front straight in Monza as a Ferrari F2004. You know, I just felt like screaming, "I'm Michael Schumacher," you know, down the straight, because it was just such a great experience. So I'm really...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm really having fun with it, like, really.
So, as someone else who also owns a Logitech steering wheel, I have the 920, which is the PS4 version. Actually, no, G29, sorry. Which is the PS4 version, which is sitting right here off to my left. I will agree with you that there's something completely different from holding a controller while sim racing and having the wheel, because you feel all the bumps and the movements through the wheel now as you're turning, with just how good sim racing technology has become. And yeah, a controller can kind of emulate that, but fans, you've got to get a steering wheel for that one-to-one I'm actually driving this thing experience, because it is absolutely amazing.
Oh, it is. I was driving down Monza. I felt everything on the track. Everything. As a controller player, you never feel the rumble strips, but when you use the wheel and you hit a rumble strip, you feel it. You feel the jolt.
Yep. And sometimes if you have the force feedback set a little bit too high, it's rough enough to where it will yank that wheel right out your hands. Taryn and Adam are joining us in the chat. Good evening, fellas. T says, good evening, Darryl, Michael, and Christopher have an amazing show. He says he's doing great. Adam says, evening, boys, let's go racing. Well, let's do that. We're going to start, of course, with Formula One, which would be the traditional starter for us here. But we haven't had Formula One for a little while. Now we finally have it with the Bahrain Grand Prix, which was an excellent race. Michael, I don't think I have felt that excited for the last stanza of a Formula One race in years. Watching Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen go at it, hammer and tongs for the last 12 laps of that race or so. Verstappen on the better tires, Hamilton trying to make his last, and they are fighting for the win on pace of a Formula One Grand Prix we've got two teams in the thick of a fight. I say game on. This is going to be an incredible season.
It was definitely a great fight. I've never been that much on the edge of my seat for a while. And when it comes to battling for the lead, I've been on the edge, every other season, but this for the lead was great to see. It's finally great to see two drivers fighting their absolute hardest for the win there.
Well, it's good because now it's two drivers from two different teams, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. Red Bull versus Mercedes. This is the fight everyone has looked forward to. We haven't had it the last couple of years because Mercedes has just been so dominant. But with the new rule changes on downforce, the higher raked cars, which is the back end of the car is lifted up higher than the front, they suffered compared to the cars that have a lower differential in that split between where the front end is off the ground compared to where the rear of the car is off the ground. That has been advantaged Red Bull. Mercedes has struggled with their rear grip. They clawed some of that back over the practices in Bahrain, but we get to qualifying, and Max Verstappen lays down that time that is 0.4 of a second faster than what Hamilton did. It wakes you up. You're like, uh-oh, I think we have a stronger team now than Mercedes for the first time in a while. And in the race, Verstappen was leading, but he wasn't pulling away from Lewis Hamilton, which shows that on race pace, the Mercedes and the Red Bull are a little bit closer than we think. That is good for the racing because now we've got two teams, 4 cars in the thick of the fight, which means it's not just going to be, Hamilton leading and then maybe Bottas can pick up a win. It's going to be Hamilton versus Verstappen, the 7-time champion and the heir apparent to his legacy, going race for race, corner for corner. It's been built up as a heavyweight prize fight in Formula One for years, and we didn't think we were going to see it, but now, finally, it is here. I am all for this. Let's go. As a Lewis Hamilton fan, to see that he's finally going to be challenged by Max Verstappen, I can't wait to see how this season ends, and that's something we have been praying for as Formula One fans. We've wanted unpredictability. We've wanted a team that can challenge Mercedes, and finally, Red Bull has a challenger to do it.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Ferrari for the longest time, but, they cheated, so no Ferrari. But Red Bull, they've answered the challenge, and I'm honestly just looking forward to a good old-fashioned fight. But what I am impressed with this weekend is definitely Lando Norris, Darryl, because Lando was sitting there quiet. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You're good.
No, I thought you was telling me to stop talking.
No. That was allergies. Sorry. You guys didn't hear that over the air, but unfortunately I had an issue with allergies. Had to clear the sinuses because spring is here, but we're good now.
Okay. But yeah, I was really impressed with him during the fight, during the race. He sat there quietly in fourth, and Leclerc, he was up there in the top 5 doing pretty well too. And let's
unmute myself.
Go ahead,
Let's not sell Norris short, though. He was in third for a good portion of that race as Valtteri Bottas was struggling on his tires. McLaren Mercedes has come out swinging this season. They finished 4th and 7th with Norris and Ricciardo. That is an exciting pairing already just because of how Daniel Ricciardo is. Seeing Lando run that well, Michael, McLaren could be that third team that with a couple of upgrades could play a little bit of a spoiler in the championship for Mercedes or Red Bull.
I think they're definitely going to have more of an advantage on power tracks for McLaren Mercedes. I never thought I was gonna ever say McLaren Mercedes ever again, but I think they're gonna have the advantage on power tracks, and like you said, Darryl, with a few more upgrades, I think they could be very good spoilers for the championship.
And that is good to see as well, that the midfield is so close to the top teams. Again, qualifying, I think they said 15, I think the whole field was between 2 seconds of one another, and it was a much higher gap the last few years. Formula One has needed to close the performance gap between the big teams and the small teams, and it took them forever to finally do it with the cost cap. We have the new rules coming in next season. We had some rule changes this year, and they've already worked. Yes, Mercedes and Red Bull are still the strongest teams, because that's how it's going to go. You're still going to have your big teams, but a McLaren Mercedes can still get up there. A Ferrari, which is weird to say given how they are stalwarts in this sport, can actually climb back up. AlphaTauri, though, that is a team I am watching. They did not have a representative race of what their pace actually is. Okay, Yuki Tsunoda finished 9th. Gasly got his got his wing taken off, later retired. That team in the midfield needs to be watched, because these Honda engines that Red Bull has right now, and they're going to take in the next season as their own, are really strong. And that team showed it. They are incredibly fast, and if everything goes their way, they're going to be the kings of the midfield, or fighting for kings in the midfield, rather, with McLaren all season.
Yeah, they had a really good showing in qualifying in the race, but you know who didn't have a good showing? Four-time champion Sebastian Vettel. He did not have the weekend he needed.
Sebastian Vettel, everyone thought he was going to come in and absolutely roll Lance Stroll, and I don't know why people thought that. And Stroll didn't have a good race either, but I'll talk about more about him on the other side. Vettel's in trouble. He is not gelling with this car at all, and he ends up finishing 15th, one lap down. George Russell in the Williams finished higher than him. Esteban Ocon, both Alfa Romeos. Lance Stroll, his teammate, who I already said, both Ferraris finished in the points, thank you Jesus, and also finished ahead of Sebastian Vettel. So all the talk, everyone thought that Vettel was going to go to a new team and just dominate. It ain't happening right now.
Okay, I gotta ask you one thing.
Mm-hmm.
When he accused Ocon of hitting him,
okay,
what did you feel about that? How did you feel about that?
That was all on
Vettel. Right?
That was on him. I don't know why he thought that. And here's what happened for those who didn't see it. It's late in the race. Ocon and Vettel are battling for a position. And Vettel's got DRS, trying to make the pass, couldn't get it done. Ends up running into the back of Esteban Ocon, sending both of them around. And Vettel jumps on the radio talking about Ocon hit me, Ocon moved in the braking zone, rather. And I'm sitting there like, dude, Ocon didn't move. You just ran into the back of him because you weren't paying attention. Like, that is this year's Ericsson hit me right now, if you remember that. I know everyone wants to jump on to the radio with the stewards to try to get people penalties now with how everything works with Formula One negotiating racing accidents like traffic accidents, which I am on the record of not liking. But, dude, that's on you. And even in actual real world driving, if you're behind somebody and you run into them, that's on you. And that was on Vettel. He was hunting for a flag, couldn't get one, and it's like, I know you're struggling, but That's on you, and the officials saw it the same way, gave him that 10-second penalty that slotted him down into 15th, but not a good day for Vettel by any stretch of the imagination. Michael, you there?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. Ocon was just running his line, and Vettel just hits him. And I'm there watching this live, and I'm just like, no, dude, you definitely hit him. And this man was minding his own business. He didn't move either way.
He really was, and that's unfortunate. But another good driver, because there was just so much good in this race that we have to get to. Pierre Gasly. Not Pierre Gasly, sorry. Let's go to the race results back again. And Sergio Perez. We thought at the start of that race, Michael, the curse of the second Red Bull driver struck with a vengeance. His car shuts down before the start. They're pushing him back. He manages to get it restarted and has to do a pit lane start. Leaves 20th. And then one of the Haas's just pings off by itself in last and slams into the wall, causes a caution, a full course yellow rather, and Perez is able to catch up to the back of the grid, gets newer tires, and puts on a masterclass of overtaking on his way to 5th place. That's got to feel good for Red Bull. That's got to feel good for Perez that, A, Red Bull's got a driver that can actually turn a nothing race into something, and B, it's got to feel good for Perez's confidence going forward that he has a car under him that can do that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was just having fun. I think Perez definitely won driver of the day for me because that amount of overtaking was just, it was great. And it was battling all throughout the field now that I think about it, which is something Formula One last season lacked in certain places. So it was good to see a lot of fighting this race. And I honestly can't wait to see. I'm sorry. I honestly can't wait to see what more he can do. Maybe he can snatch a win up.
Yeah, there was a good bit of overtaking in this race, but the last thing I will say before we close the book on Formula One, I think this championship is still advantage Lewis Hamilton. I really do. He has relished wanting this championship fight with Max Verstappen. He's talked about it. He thinks Max Verstappen is his biggest challenge, and he hasn't been scared of him. He's not running from it. He's embracing this challenge. And Lewis Hamilton on Sunday, with the worst tires, in the slower car, battling Max Verstappen for the lead. Yes, Verstappen had the position, but this is all I'm going to say on that. Christian Horner complained to the stewards about the turn 4 track limit extending. And ironically, that complaining cost him a win. That is on Horner, not the officials. That's all I'm going to say about it because it's been said to death in the last couple of days. The fact of the matter is that we are now going to see Lewis Hamilton properly challenged. And Hamilton rises to the occasion when he is properly challenged. We saw it when Rosberg battled him, and everyone wants to talk down on Hamilton that season, but they forget he was an exploding engine away from winning that championship because he was winning the Malaysian Grand Prix that year. If he wins the Malaysian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton's already an 8-time world drivers champion. He does not wilt when he is challenged. Hamilton has shown that he can battle with the best of them, and that's what you need to do to be an all-time great. In my opinion, it is still advantage Lewis Hamilton for this championship, but folks, this is going to be the Ali Frazier of this championship. This is going to be a heavyweight prize fight in all 23 rounds of this championship. Give or take a couple of courses, is going to be must-see television. You do not want to miss this F1 season. I think you're going to like it. Another thing you're going to like, of course, is getting your financial system on track. And if you want your 2021 season to be on track, I've been telling you guys all season, go talk to my friends Andrew and Io at Legacy Financial. I talked to them earlier today. They walked me through the program and gave me options to get my financial system firing on all cylinders. Give them a call at 510-928-2104. They're also on Twitter at Legacy Financial. Thank you so much to Legacy Financial for sponsoring both IE Sports Radio and this fine program, The Extra Mile. When we come back, we're going to talk NASCAR. We're going to get into the Bristol Dirt race, and also rain tires on ovals might be coming faster than you think. Talk about that on the other side of this break. You are listening to The Extra Mile with Darryl and Michael right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl Kinsey Jr., Michael Ward with you this very fine evening. We just wrapped up our conversation on the Bahrain Grand Prix, so if you missed that, go ahead, jump back, listen to that, then catch up with us live here. But hey, before we continue, Michael brought something to my attention during the break that we may have missed during the F1 segment, and it's about Fernando Alonso. And folks, if this just doesn't prove how snake-bitten he can be sometimes, I'm going to let Michael explain to you what just happened, because I don't think I can do this justice. So, Michael, you take over. Tell everybody what happened to Mr. Alonso on Sunday night.
Well, Darryl, he was just doing his thing on the track, showing that Alpine is a pretty quick car. But, his day was ruined and he had to retire due to a sandwich wrapper getting stuck in his engine. Yeah.
The team detected high rear brake temperatures and brought the car in. And a sandwich wrapper is the reason a Formula One car had to be retired.
A sandwich wrapper.
You cannot make this up. Who would win? A multi-million-dollar cutting-edge piece of engineering or one plasticky boy?
the plasticky boy, of course.
Yeah, apparently the plasticky boy wins here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Tough break for Lewis Hamilton. Or not Lewis Hamilton, sorry, for Fernando Alonso. Lewis Hamilton won the race, so he had an opposite of a tough break. But that's just the history of Fernando Alonso's recent career. He just has terrible luck in races. He should have won the Indy 500, and then the Honda engine blew up. That will be seared into my memory because I picked him to win that race, and that is what ultimately cost me the first year nearest the win. But he just cannot find luck sometimes, can he?
I don't know, man. I'm predicting this season that he at least gets a podium.
Hmm.
So, yeah, hopefully his luck comes back to him this season.
So let's go on now into NASCAR and the dirt. Actually, before we go, Adam, asked in the chat, ultimately, which racing league is better, Formula One or NASCAR? It depends on what you're looking for. Formula One is an engineering showcase above all, so we went the cutting edge technology. You're probably going to prefer Formula One over NASCAR. NASCAR is more about putting on a good show, which we're about to get into now, and the close racing, because the cars are a bit more spec, a bit more put together. So it's more of what tastes are you looking for out of your racing. That's the best way I can put it. And speaking of putting on a show, this dirt race that we just had at NASCAR, the Food City Dirt Race for the Cup Series and the Pinty's Truck Race on Dirt for the Truck Series, I thought this race was going to be a disaster. I was not a fan of this at the beginning. I didn't think you needed to put dirt on Bristol, but NASCAR did it anyway, and I said I'd go into it with an open mind. After what I just saw on Monday, and we're going to talk about why we didn't race on Sunday in a bit, I'm sold. Let's do this every year, at least in the spring race. Maybe move dates, but Cup cars on dirt was incredible. I think it still looks a little bit weirder. I think the trucks look better suited for the dirt, but the Cup cars were great. And I'm for anything that's going to get NASCAR drivers or NASCAR Cup Series drivers out of their element. And the dirt race definitely did it. We saw some great racing. We saw some drivers that had never run dirt do extremely well. Tip of the cap to Daniel Suarez, who got up there and led most of that race on pace. Bubba Wallace also had a good day until a cut tire. We'll talk about that in a bit. But my overall impression on the Food City Dirt Race is that, barring a couple of fixes, this could be a new crown jewel event for NASCAR. It puts the Cup Series drivers out of their element. It gets back to the heart of the sport when we were racing everything on dirt, and it put on a great show at the end of it. The event could use some tweaking, though. Michael, what were your thoughts on the race?
It was great. The racing was fantastic. I love seeing Daniel Suarez up there battling with everybody. The crash at the beginning kind of sucked because it did kind of prove that the IE Sports Radio curse is real. But
oh my gosh, is it real?
Yeah, it's definitely real. But it was fantastic racing.
And if you're new here listening to IE Sports Radio, what the IE Sports Radio curse is that we've worked out here for the extra mile is that when more than 3 of us pick a driver to win a race, not only does that driver not win the race, rarely do they ever finish the race, except for in Formula One. We don't have this problem in Formula One. That's a whole nother can of worms. In NASCAR and IndyCar, if more than 3 of us pick a driver, they ain't winning. That's just what happens. I think it was a consensus pick for all of us, Michael, that we picked Kyle Larson, and Larson had an issue with the engine on Friday, had to start from the back. Him and Christopher Bell, who everyone thought was going to be the odds-on favorites, come shooting up through the field, and they don't even make it to the end of stage 1 because they end up in an accident out of the race. The extra mile curse is real, y'all. I'm telling you. If more than 3 of us pick a driver, don't pick them. You're probably going to have a much better day than we are.
Yeah, I didn't think it was real. I'm not a really superstitious guy, but after that, yeah, it's real. It's definitely real.
I'm not either, but there's got to be something to it now. I mean, this is what, the 7th or 8th example of this, where we've picked a consensus driver and it's failed on us.
Yeah. What was the first one? I think it was like, wasn't it like Kevin Harvick or something like that?
You're asking the guy with ADHD to remember things.
Okay.
Really? I can't even remember what the first one was. I'm not even going to try. But I think we all picked Chase Elliott to win a race is how it started. And everything just fell apart. And it hasn't gotten better since.
We all picked him during the Daytona Road Course.
Yep, that was this season.
He almost won, but he didn't.
Yep, we picked Chase Elliott. That's the first example I can think of this season. We were all consensus picks on him for the Daytona Road Course, and he ends up not even finishing in the top 20. So we try to pick these races. It's not exactly a science, and usually for us it ends poorly. So that is us trying to be swamis here in race picking. It's a lot harder than it looks, but the race was good positive. There were unfortunately some negatives. One of them was something that NASCAR can't really control, which was the weather, but it pointed out something that they can control, which is the windshields. We had torrential downpours in Bristol or in Tennessee for Saturday and Sunday. Sunday had extended onto basically the entire East Coast. Worst flooding in about a decade they saw there, and it absolutely soaked the track. We saw this on Saturday where they tried to run the first qualifying heat. The track was so wet, they went into turn 1 and just mud all over the windshields in the front of the cars. Instant red flag, and then the rains came. They're going to have to work on a situation to remove the windshields going forward. I know there's an issue with the MSD ignition boxes and the ECU for the Cup cars. They're going to have to work around that, of course, to get them cooling and also get them protected from the dirt and the dust. But the windshields are probably going to have to go away. They're going to have to work a little bit more on track prep and probably know when to just cut their losses and try again the next day, because a dirt track, unlike an asphalt track, when it gets too much rain on it, there's nothing really you can do on it than to do some extensive track prep to get that water out. They did an amazing job on Sunday night to get the track ready to run on Saturday. And something's going to have to be done about the dust. They may have to take about 600 pounds out of these cars. I know they had to go to single file restarts to really cut down on that once the track dried out. But they may have to do more extensive watering between the stages and track prep between the stages to make sure that dust is not a problem for the Cup cars going forward. Wasn't that big of an issue with the trucks, but the Cup cars running a longer race, probably going to be a bigger issue. Those are the two places where I could see they need improvement. Michael, what do you think needs to happen with the dirt race?
Nothing. I kind of like it the way it is.
Oh, so you're fine with it the way it was?
Yeah, I was definitely fine with it. It looked really good. I don't really see anywhere. I mean, you've got more experience with NASCAR than I do. I kind of fell off of NASCAR for a while, but from what I saw, I don't think it really needs anything else. To be honest with you, it's a great fun racing. Everybody enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. There's one part that happened in the race later that I didn't enjoy, but yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it.
I think one thing I would want to see is them come down on the laps a little bit for the Cup race. I think 250 laps is too much for a dirt race. I think the perfect length is that 100 to 150 lap range. You don't really get into the major dust issues that way. You still have a little bit life in the track there as well. So I think 150 laps would be fine. Maybe back the truck race down to 80 to 100 if you need to have that separation. Personally, I could say just do twin 150s and be done with it. I also want to see this race at night. That's not a problem. That's just a suggestion. I think you put this race on a Saturday night, you really get back to that local short track feeling that this type of racing really evokes. So I would love to see this go to a night race. I know Bristol night in the summer is a thing, but moving both of the Bristol races to the evening, going to be incredible. And I think it's something, especially with this dirt race, is what they need to maybe think about for 2022 and beyond, because they said this race is coming back for next season, and NASCAR has said they don't do things just to do it once. So we could see this race as a staple of the schedule going forward.
I agree with you.
However,
I definitely want to see it at night. I think at night would be amazing.
Yeah. However, there's one thing I want to talk about. 2311 Racing, man. They just cannot find the racers' luck right now. They've had 3 or 4 races where they could have had good finishes come all for naught. This is the latest example here at Bristol. Bubba Wallace racing with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Ricky ends up cutting a left rear tire. Bubba goes around, no caution. Now, maybe it's because he got back going, but he did spin in the middle of a group of race cars. I was surprised there was no caution. Michael, would you have wanted to see a caution there for that incident?
I mean, yeah. He cut a tire, spun out and everything. You know, that's more than enough. And he was in the middle of the track. That's more than enough reason for me, in my opinion, to have a caution. I don't know why there wasn't a caution. We've had drivers all weekend spin out and they throw, not all weekend, all race long spin out and they throw a caution. But when the 23 spins out, they're just like, oh, no problem. He got off the track quick enough. There's no problem with that. I just don't get it. You know, they throw cautions out for people blowing a tire and hitting the wall, but you know, I guess I'm not a NASCAR expert, but
it feels like that
us.
thing. It feels like the thing where it's coming back to consistency. We just want to see consistency out of NASCAR officiating, and it goes through, you know, to all levels, not just the big things, but the little things. And it's much like refereeing in March Madness. We saw this in the women's tournament with Baylor and UConn. Last shot, they're going up for it. Baylor was, and the player got fouled. Clearly, didn't get called. We want to see, just like in that game, we want to see whether there was a foul at the start, a foul at the end, especially if it's obvious, like what that play was. In NASCAR, if it's an obvious caution-causing situation that consistently brings out a yellow, we want to see it for everybody, or else it gets into a situation where people start saying races are fixed or they're showing favoritism towards certain drivers and all that nonsense that we got to deal with on NASCAR Twitter. Just be consistent. If it's going to be a caution for one guy, let it be a caution for everybody. I think that's just what we want to see. I think that's our only real complaints, though. I was plenty satisfied by the racing we saw once we got to racing, of course, this weekend at Bristol.
Yeah, I have no complaints. The racing was great. The only two issues I had was the consistency with Bubba Wallace and the fact that Joey Logano won. But that's my own gripe.
Yeah. Well, okay. We were going to go to break, but now I got to talk about this. The Joey Logano thing. Everybody, for some reason, does not like Joey Logano. I do not get it. I have no problem with how Joey Logano races people. I really don't. You want aggressive drivers. You say you want people who don't pull over. Joey Logano does it. He does not make friends when that helmet comes on, and then everyone gets mad. And here's another thing I don't get, and I brought this up last year during the playoffs. Everybody and their mother says, Joey Logano races me like that, I'm going to get him back. Oh, he's not going to win the war. He did. Oh, he's not going to make the championship 4. He did. Everyone talks a big game about how they're going to take out Joey Logano for what they did to him. And then when the chips are down and they have the perfect opportunity to get him back, nobody does it. The most recent example, Denny Hamlin in this race. 4 laps to go. He's right behind Joey Logano. They had a run-in at Martinsville last season. Everybody and their mother is expecting Denny Hamlin to go into that corner and give Joey Logano the bump and run. Even if Logano makes the corner, we're going to get a lot of fighting, a lot of pushing. It's going to be great. Denny Hamlin tries to make the pass clean, and it fails. He doesn't get the position. He ends up actually losing a couple of spots. As we go over to the results, he ends up finishing 3rd. Joey Logano wins the war again. I don't know what it is about this guy. Everyone talks a big game about how they're going to get him back. But when the chips are down, nobody pays him back.
I will give him this.
He just gets away with it.
He's not a bad driver. He's really not. I just hate his personality.
I don't think
I'm just being real with you. I just hate his personality.
I don't think his personality is bad. I don't know. I don't get it. Maybe I like him because, he's my age. He was one of the first drivers that's, a millennial that got to the sport. So I'm like, you know what? That's really cool. We have the same birthday. I'm going to root for him. And you know what? He's done pretty well. Yes, he had that slowdown at, I was about to say Stewart Haas Racing. I'm so sorry. At Joe Gibbs Racing, but the Joe Gibbs Racing development program, we've seen drivers come through there, get to the big team, and unfortunately not do well. Joey was one of them. He's done great over at Penske now. That team fits him. He's running great. And I think Joey Logano's personality, love it or hate it, is good for the sport. And I find it hilarious, the amount of drivers that say they're going to pay him back and nobody does it. It's really funny. I mean, his bank right now, his payback bank account right now is so in the black, it's hilarious with the amount of people that owe him payback and have not cashed in.
Yeah, you are right about that. A lot of people do say they're going to pay him, and then they never do. Come on, somebody out there.
I'm waiting. And a lot of NASCAR fans are too, because there's a lot of Joey Logano hate out there. But we can talk about Joey Logano hate another day. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we have no race coming up this week due to Easter break. So the last 15 minutes, Michael and I, we're just going to have what I'll call a free practice. And we're just going to talk about some of the moments that we've liked this season so far in the young racing gear. We'll be right back right here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the colleges, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
And we are back right here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sport. Final segment getting started here. And fans, the 2021 racing season is hitting one of its unintentional breaks here as the Easter break has come up. Formula One will not be back for another 3 weeks due to travel guidelines in Europe and the 14-day quarantine that they have to do as the teams were just in Bahrain. They're moving on to Imola next, I believe is the next race on the schedule. Yes, they're going to be going to Imola April 16th through 18th, so they've got to get through that. It's also the Easter weekend here in the States and around the world for the Christian nations out there and all those that practice Christianity, which means we're not going to have any NASCAR this weekend and IndyCar due to having to push back their start of their schedule has not begun yet. So we are on a place where we really have no racing this weekend to preview. So instead, Michael and I are going to spend some time and just talk about some of the things that we have liked so far out of the 2021 racing season. And I'll start with Michael. Michael, what are some of the things you've enjoyed from this year?
Honestly, the racing, just how different it feels this season. F1 had to change up their racing schedule, and I really enjoyed it. You know, starting off with Bahrain and Imola, it's great. But I have to say my most favorite thing about this season, Darryl, is the fact that it's still going. It's the fact that we're doing this for another year. You know, last year was so detrimental to everyone there, and we had to wait so long for racing to get started again. The fact that this season is starting off like it usually does, like we all expect it to start in February. It started in February, and you know it's still going. So I think the fact that everything's carrying on like business as usual, I think that's one of the best parts about the season.
I can agree with that 200%. And Pierre says, good evening, fellas. Hello, Pierre. Hope you're doing great. Thank you for dropping in and listening. I think bigger than anything, number one, the fact that we are racing right now, the fact that we are racing with fans right now is incredible. Because 1 year ago, around this time, we were in the midst of the COVID red flag. And yes, racing is on the last of the last lists of everything important we lost during that 8-week period compared to everything else that happened. And I'm not trying to make light of any of that, but just from a sports and racing perspective, just to be back a year later, fans in the stands, and it's not like in motorsports we don't see the fans a lot other than, when they're cutting the shots of them. Now, of course, they're a lot closer in ovals than they are at road course racing. Now, in ovals, they are good background furniture, and when we go to breaks, we'll see them, and then if a popular driver like Chase Elliott spins, we'll see their fans in the crowd. But it's not like we hear the fans reacting to things, mainly due to how loud the cars are. Now, sometimes they will feed that sound in for certain drivers, but it's incredible that we're even here with fans. I think that's the number one thing for me. It was missed seeing people at the racetrack last year when we came back and most of the races were without fans, Michael. Like, it went from being something that you took for granted to it was inconspicuous, the fact that we were having a full-fledged race and nobody was there.
Yeah, it was definitely a jarring experience when you go to watch the races and they're just empty. Yeah. But, we have them now, and I just wanted to, again, take this time to thank all the medical staff out there and, all the researchers out there for making all this possible. And let's continue doing a good job to finally put this whole pandemic in our rearview mirror.
Thank you to all our first responders. And right now the vaccination programs are accelerating across the state. Make sure that when it is your turn to get vaccinated, you go and get vaccinated, because that is the only way we're going to be able to get back outside. And until they give us the all clear, continue to wear your mask, continue to social distance. We're going to be out of this before too long. I think some of my favorite racing moments so far, I think, has been the Sebring 12 Hours. That was a couple of weeks ago. IMSA always knows how to put on a show. That GTLM battle, it's the last year of that category here in America. Put on yet another show. Unfortunately, Corvette came up on the other side of that with getting turned by the BMW there at the end of that race. But it was still incredible seeing the cars at Sebring. You got to respect the bumps at that track for 12 hours. And it's a great racetrack. I would love to see NASCAR run Sebring one day. I definitely want to see IndyCar. The IndyCar tests there a lot. I can't believe we haven't done a actual IndyCar Grand Prix there yet, but hopefully that'll come in the near future. There's just been a lot of great racing to start the year. I think everyone's just energized because we have fans back in the stands and they want to put on a good show. I can't really think of any races other than, the Daytona 500 that have been duds, but the 500 was due to the fact that we had a giant wreck 8 laps in.
Yeah, definitely, and a very uncalled for wreck too. But other than the Daytona 500, every race has been pretty good. And, we got Formula One. Formula One, we have a championship battle brewing up. NASCAR, we have, our 6th different winner?
7th. Ties 2014. Winner? Most different winners to start the season since 2014.
All right, we have NASCAR is crazy right now with its winners and its racing. This has been a really great start to the season, Darryl.
It has been an incredible start to the season. I cannot wait to see what the rest of 2021 has for us. I loved going to the Daytona road course as well. I liked that track last year. I think it's a good track for the NASCAR Cup cars. Again, anything that's going to get them out of their element and challenge them, I am for. So I'm going to be supportive of that race. Trying to think of some things that happened. Also, NHRA, you had a first-time winner in their first career event in Top Fuel. As I go back to the results page, just to get the actual name. Josh Hart, first time in Top Fuel, wins the Gator Nationals, which is one of the major crown jewel events on the Camping World NHRA Drag Racing Series schedule. He goes out there and wins it. Congratulations to him. Now, NHRA has been on a long layoff due to them losing the Winter Nationals that got postponed. They'll be back April 16th through 18th with the 4 White Nationals in Las Vegas, but that was one of my favorite moments to start the season so far, just to see a first-time winner, small team, getting it done in the NHRA Top Fuel Division.
I'm sorry about that. Definitely a great job by him. First win in your first race. Crazy. But definitely shows that he has a lot of talent, though.
Yeah, you can't do it better than that. Cannot wait to see how the rest of the season starts. We'll get back to more racing next week when NASCAR comes back. We've also got IndyCar getting ready to start. Before we get out of here, one last topic. NASCAR had a tire test at Martinsville, testing the wet tire on a damp racetrack to see how the tires would hold up on lightly banked race courses. It was called a very good step. Officials are going to evaluate the viability of rain tires at short tracks. So before we go, Michael, would you like to see NASCAR take to short ovals? If we get rain, if they could go out, try to run the race in the wet.
Yes.
That was a quick answer.
Yes. I would like to see it.
I would also like to see it. And with how much rain that is starting to affect NASCAR races now, this is technology that needs to be iterated upon. It needs to be something that is researched going forward so that eventually we can get to a 1.5 mile racetrack. It's raining and we can still race. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for us to get to that point. And I'm not going to say it's going to be anytime soon, but I would love to. The only place I don't want to see rain tires, Daytona or Talladega. I am good on that. Those tracks are a handful when they're dry. You want to do those tracks in the wet? No thanks, fam. I'm good.
Yeah, I wouldn't rather have them at Daytona or Talladega either. I think 1.5 miles in short tracks would be great for rain racing.
And we've got to deal with it because Mother Nature just does not like NASCAR right now. We're just going to have to start adapting and overcoming. And that's going to have to include going back to this rain tire idea on ovals and see what we can do. We've got much better tire construction technology than we did 20 years ago. So why not give this idea a second chance? I mean, it's going to kill a lot of those rain delays that we've been having to Monday if we can race in the rain. And it could provide some good racing. We'll see. But this is a first step. Long time to go on that. But there's not a lot of time left in this show. In fact, there's no time left in this show. Make sure you follow Michael at Michael_War25. I'm at DK Jr. 12. Christopher's at Fiji Sims, though he was unable to join us this week. We will have him back next week, of course. Make sure you follow the iSports Radio pages on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, iSportsRadio.com for more information about your favorite shows here and more. And, of course, if you want to hear more of me yakking about racing, check me out on Tuesdays on 2Y Tuesday on WBGR Sports at 6 p.m. And, of course, if you missed any episode of any iSports Radio show, you can check us out wherever podcasts can be heard from. So we're going to wave the checkered flag on this episode and dip out for this evening. For Michael, I'm Darryl. This has been The Extra Mile. We will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.